In a quiet, war-torn village, a 6-year-old boy named Elias clung to his mother, Adeline, as bombs shook the ground. The air was filled with the acrid scent of smoke, screams, and chaos. Adeline, her face streaked with soot and tears, knelt in front of Elias, gripping his small shoulders. "Stay here," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I'll find help and come back for you. I promise." The promise hung heavy in the air as she disappeared into the chaos. Hours turned into days, and help never came. Elias waited, cold and hungry, until soldiers found him and swept him into the current of war's aftermath. Elias grew up in a harsh military orphanage where compassion was a weakness and survival required obedience. By the time he was a teenager, he had learned to bury his emotions deep within himself. Every hint of kindness he had was chiseled away by years of discipline and hardship. Decades later, Colonel Elias Ward was a name spoken with both respect and fear. As the commander of the renowned Iron Wolves Battalion, Elias was on a crisp autumn morning. Elias and his battalion arrived in a small, forgotten village to establish a forward command post. The village, battered but resilient, was populated by a handful of farmers and refugees. As Elias inspected the area, he noticed an older woman, bent with age, struggling to carry a heavy basket of firewood. Her frailty irritated him. "Out of the way!" he barked, his voice sharp as steel. The woman looked up, her eyes piercing and familiar, though he didn't recognize her. "I'm doing the best I can," she replied, her tone steady despite his harshness. "Your best isn't good enough," Elias snapped. "Move faster or step aside." His words cut through the air, but the woman didn't flinch. She straightened her back, staring directly into his eyes. "You speak to me as though I am nothing, yet you carry yourself like a man who's lost everything." Elias froze. Something about her voice stirred a memory, long buried, a promise made in smoke and fire. "What did you say?" he demanded, though his voice wavered. The woman set down her basket, studying him carefully. "Elias," she said softly, her voice cracking, "I'm your mother." For a moment time seemed to stop. Elias stared at her, disbelief and anger warring on his face. "No," he said coldly, "that's not possible. My mother abandoned me." Adeline's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't abandon you. I searched for you, through the war, through the camps. I never stopped looking." Elias clenched his fists, his carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble. Memories of his childhood, of her warm embrace and soothing words, came rushing back. "Why now?" he growled. "Why after all these years?" "Because I never gave up hope," she said. "Even when the world told me you were gone, I refused to believe it. And now, by some miracle, here you are." Elias turned away, his chest heaving. Emotions he hadn't felt in decades, grief, anger, longing, flooded him all at once. Adeline stepped closer, her voice gentle. "I see the man you've become. You've had to be strong, to survive things no child should. But you don't have to carry it alone anymore. I'm here now, Elias." The days that followed were difficult. Elias struggled to reconcile the hardened soldier he'd become with the vulnerable boy he once was. Adeline, though frail, was patient and unwavering. She shared stories of her search, of the countless times she'd followed dead ends and false leads, and of the nights she prayed she would find him. Slowly, Elias began to open up. He shared his own pain, the loneliness of growing up without her, and the weight of his responsibilities. One evening, As the sun set over the village, Elias sat beside Adeline on a wooden bench. For the first time, Elias's transformation was gradual but profound. He began to soften, showing compassion to his soldiers and the villagers. Under his leadership, the Iron Wolves worked to rebuild the village, offering aid and protection instead of fear. Adeline became a fixture in the battalion's camp, her quiet strength inspiring the soldiers. She often told them stories, reminding them of the humanity they fought to protect. Elias and Adeline spent hours together, making up for lost time. She helped him rediscover the boy he once was, and he, in turn, vowed never to lose her again. Years later, Elias retired from the military and settled in the village with Adeline. Together, they created a haven for war orphans, ensuring that no child would ever feel the loneliness Elias had endured. Their bond, forged in the fires of war and time, became unbreakable. And for the first time in his life, Elias Ward knew peace, not as a soldier, but as a son.